Namaste everyone, welcome again. Now let us continue with diffusion of respiratory gases in the alveoli. The primary function of respiratory system is to exchange oxygen and carbon dioxide. Inhaled oxygen enters the lungs and reaches the alveoli. The layers of cells lining the alveoli and the surrounding capillaries are each only one cell thickness and are very close to each other or very close contact with each other. This barrier between air and the blood averages about 1 micron in thickness. Oxygen passes quickly through the air blood barrier into the blood in the capillaries. Similarly, carbon dioxide passes from the blood into the alveoli and is then exhaled. So, diffusion of respiratory gases means how the oxygen and carbon dioxide they are getting exchanged in the lung. Okay, so here what is said, the primary function of respiratory system is to exchange the oxygen and carbon dioxide. Now how this exchange is happening, they have given that inhaled oxygen enters the lung and reaches the alveoli. So the air which we inhale and that oxygen is also there, and that oxygen enters the lung and it reaches the alveoli. Okay, the layers of the cells lining the alveoli and the surrounding capillaries are each only one cell thick. So if you see the thickness of alveolar cell lining, okay, you will find that its thickness is only one cell thick and they are very close in contact with each other. So blood capillaries and alveoli cell, they are very close to each other. This barrier between the air and the blood averages about 1 micron. So if you see what is the barrier between the air which enters in the alveoli and the blood vessels, you will find that their average barrier is about 1 micron. Means 1 micron distance away there is a blood capillary, you can say. So oxygen passes quickly through this air blood barrier. So this 1 micron barrier, air, it passes quickly through it and it enters into the blood in the capillaries, and in the same way the carbon dioxide passes from the blood into the alveoli and is then exhaled. So the barrier between blood vessels and air which is in the alveoli, the barrier is about 1 micron thick only. So air which is rich in oxygen, from there oxygen enters into the blood, it passes that barrier and it enters into the blood, and in the same way the carbon dioxide which is in the blood, it moves away from the blood and it goes in the alveoli, and from where it is exhaled out. So this is diffusion of oxygen and carbon dioxide taking place in the lung. Now let us understand the mechanism of breathing. Breathing means breathing mechanism consists of two processes. The inspiration, that is the process of taking in the air from the atmosphere into the lungs, and expiration, that is the process of getting rid of the air from the lung into the atmosphere. Normally inspiration is rhythmically followed by expiration. So you take air in, then you take it out, and then you take the air in. It is not like that you take air in and then again you take in. You have to remove that air out also. That is inspiration and expiration. They are taking place rhythmically. They are taking place one after the other. Now inspiration, when we take air in or inhalation. So inspiration is the result of increase in the size of thoracic cavity. This increase is due to the combined action of rib and the diaphragm. So our rib cage and diaphragm, you can see here, this is diaphragm, okay, and these are the ribs, okay. So these diaphragm and ribs, what they do, okay, they expand. As they expand, okay, the cavity inside the chest, it increases. The ribs moved upward and outward by the muscles stretching between them, stretched between them, thus enlarging the chest cavity all around. So first what happens? There is an enlargement of chest cavity. The diaphragm is a sheet of muscular tissues. The diaphragm is a sheet of muscular tissues which normally remain arched upward like a dome towards the base of the lung. On contraction, it falls or flattens from the dome-shaped outline to an almost horizontal plane and thus contributes to the enlargement of the chest cavity lengthwise. As the diaphragm flattens, it presses the organs inside the abdomen, and with the abdominal muscle relax, the abdominal wall moves outward. So the diaphragm you can see in the diagram, this is the diaphragm. Okay, the diaphragm is a sheet of muscular tissues. So it is made up of muscular tissues which normally remain arch upward. So their normal position is in the shape of arch, which is arch upward like a dome. Now towards the base of lung, on contraction, it falls or flattens. So this arch-shaped dome, on contraction, it become flat from the dome-shaped outline to an almost horizontal plane and thus contribute to the enlargement of the chest cavity. And thus, as it become horizontal, it help in enlargement of the chest cavity lengthwise. As the diaphragm flattens, it presses the organs inside the abdomen, and with the abdominal muscle relax, the abdomen wall moves outward. So this is the mechanism how the chest, means from inside it expanded. Okay, decreased pressure inside the lung draws the air inward. So as volume increases inside the chest, pressure of air decreases, and because of decrease in pressure, what happens? Air from outside it enters through our nostril into the lung. So we are not taking air in. Okay, we are not taking air in. The air is automatically going inside you. Okay, when you are sleeping, okay, that time you are not taking in air with your conscious, means you are aware that you are taking in. It is automatically happening that air is going into your lung. How it is going into your lung? Because with the process which we discussed right now, the chest from inside it expands and it decreases the pressure, and as it decreases the pressure, what happens? Outside air pressure is more, so air rushes from outside into your chest. Decreased pressure inside the lung draws the air inward. When the thoracic cavity increases in size, thoracic cavity means the cavity which is inside the chest. When the thoracic cavity increases in size, the pressure in the pleural cavity is decreased. The lung expands. As a result, the pressure inside the lung is lowered below the atmospheric pressure. The outside air, which is at a greater pressure, rushes in to equalize the pressure. So from outside, the air goes inside. So this is how we have taken air in our lungs. This is inspiration process. Now expiration, that is exhalation. Exhalation is the result of reverse movement of the ribs and the diaphragm. The other set of intercostal muscles contract and pull the rib down and inward. The diaphragm is relaxed and is moved upward to its dome-like outline. As a result, the pressure of the abdominal contents when the muscles in the abdomen wall contract. As a consequence of the above mentioned movement of the ribs and diaphragm, the cavity of the thorax is diminished and the lungs are compressed, forcing the air out into the atmosphere. So during expiration, what is happening? A totally reverse process is happening. Okay, ribs, they are in the beginning they are expanded, now they are contracting. The other sets of intercostal muscle contract and pull the rib down and inward. So rib is now pulling down and inward. Diaphragm is also now is relaxed and it moves upward like a dome shape. As a result of why it is becoming relaxed, as a result of the pressure of abdominal contents when the muscle in the abdominal wall contracts. So as muscle in the abdominal wall contracts, it um, creates a pressure, because of which our diaphragm, okay, it come in relaxed position, and all these results in contraction in the volume. All these results in rise in pressure, we can say, inside the lung, and because of this the atmosphere, because of this the air in the lung, it rushes out into the atmosphere. So this is expiration. During rest we breathe approximately 16 times a minute. So when you are at rest position, if you count how many times air is going inside you and coming out, so it is on an average 16 times. We inhale about 0.5 to 3 liters of air in every breath. So in every breath 0.5 to 3 liters of air we are taking in. Whenever we are engaged in any physical activity, the carbon dioxide content in the blood increases, and as a result the rate of breathing is also increases. It can go up to 50 times a minute. So when we are doing some physical activity or when we are doing some exercise, that time the content of carbon dioxide is increasing our blood, because we are using energy, okay, and then to remove these carbon dioxides and to take more oxygen, our breathing rate increases and it goes up to 50 times a minute. Oxygen depth: the amount of extra oxygen required by muscle tissues during recovery from vigorous exercise, that is called oxygen depth. So when we are doing a vigorous exercise, what happens? There is a shortfall of oxygen in our muscle. So the amount of oxygen the muscle tissues require to regain, to recover, is called oxygen depth. Lactic acid accumulation. Lactic acid is formed and accumulated in the muscles under conditions of high energy demand, rapid fluctuations of the energy requirement, and insufficient supply of oxygen. During intense exercise sustained to fatigue muscles, pH decreases to about 6.4 to 6.6. So when we do a vigorous exercise, that time what happens? Muscles, they need oxygen in large quantity, large amount. But as the demand increased for oxygen, at the same pace, oxygen is not reaching the muscles. So what happens? The muscle cells, they start developing lactic acid in them. And as they develop lactic acid, the pH of the muscle tissues, it decreases, and it decreases up to the level of 6.4 to 6.6. Second wind. Second wind is a phenomenon in distance running, such as marathon or road running, as well as other sports, whereby an athlete who is out of breath and too tired to continue suddenly finds the strength to press on at top performance with less exertions. The feeling may be similar to that of a runner's high, the most obvious difference being that the runner's high occurs after the race is over. Some scientists believe the second wind to be a result of bodies finding the proper balance of oxygen to counteract the buildup of lactic acid in the muscles. Other claims second wind are due to endo, endorphin production. Okay, so what is second wind? Let us again see. Second wind is a phenomenon in distance running. So when we are running, that time, such as marathon when the distance is too large, or the road running, whereby an athlete who is out of breath and too tired to continue suddenly finds the strength to press on at the top performance with less exertions. So while running, athletes, they feel they are very tired, their muscles are now weak, but suddenly they feel that now they regain their strength and they can run at their peak. The feeling may be similar to that of runner's high. So this is called runner's high feeling. The most obvious difference being that the runner's high occurs after the race is over. So generally this happens once the race is over. So once the race is over, the runner feels that now he is more energetic and he can now run again. Some scientists believe. So what is the reason for this second wind? The result of this second wind, or the reason for the second wind, is to find the proper balance of oxygen to counteract the buildup of lactic acid in the muscles. So why this second wind happened? Because now the body has balanced the oxygen to counteract the lactic acid in muscles. So lactic acid are produced in muscles. When it get oxygen, then lactic acid it releases, and again the athlete feels energetic. Other claims the second wind are due to endorphin production. So some scientists believe that because of running there is endorphin production, and because of that they feel energetic. Now let us understand the composition of inspired and expired air. So when we take air in, that time what is the composition of air, how much oxygen is there, and when we release air from our body, that time what is the level of oxygen and other gases. So during inspiration we see that 20.14% is oxygen, 0.3 to 0.4% is carbon dioxide, 79.03% is nitrogen and other gases, and very low amount of water vapor is present. When we expire, the amount of oxygen is 16.3. So what you understand from here, that when we take air in, then all the oxygen is not utilized. Okay, only a part, like from 20.14%. Okay, when we are expiring 16.3%, we are expiring. That means only 4% oxygen we have utilized. Okay, not 4%. Out of 20%, now it is remained 16%. So out of total air volume, 4% of oxygen we have utilized. Rest 16% is there which we are expiring out. Carbon dioxide, now when we take air in, that time the amount of carbon dioxide was 0.3 to 0.4%, but when we are giving out, that time about 4% of carbon dioxide we are removing, and nitrogen and other gases they remain as it is. Water vapor, now the water vapor content when we exhale, it is more. The volume of air that can be taken in and the expelled out by maximum inspiration and expiration is 4500 milliliter. So volume of air that we take in one go is about 4500 milliliter. Tidal volume, alveolar air 350 ml, dead space air 150 ml, inspiratory reserve volume is about 3000 ml, expiratory reserve volume is about 1000 ml, residual air is 1500 ml, vital capacity 4500 ml, total lung capacity is about 6000 ml. Vital capacity is the amount of air that the lung can expel after being filled completely. The vital capacity represents the change in the volume from completely expired lung to completely filled lung. In the human medicine, vital capacity is an important measure of a person's respiratory health. So vital capacity, how they define vital capacity? Vital capacity is the amount of air that the lung can expel after being filled completely. So we take a deep breath, we fill our chest completely with air, then we expel out. So the amount of air we can expel out, that is called vital capacity. Okay, so the vital capacity represents the change in the volume from completely expired lung to completely filled lung. So we fill completely and then we expel completely. So the difference is your vital capacity. In human medicines, vital capacity is an important measure of the person's respiratory health. So if your respiratory health is good, okay, your vital capacity will be more. Here they have given vital capacity of about 4500 milliliter. Tidal volume, its symbol is VT or TB. Tidal volume is the lungs volume representing the normal volume of air displaced between normal inhalation and exhalation when extra effort is not applied. So when we are not applying any extra effort, then that time the difference of amount of air taken in and taking out is your tidal volume, you can say. So tidal volume is the lungs volume representing the normal volume of air displaced between normal inhalation and exhalation. So during normal inhalation and exhalation, how much volume you are displacing, that is your tidal volume. In a healthy young man, young human adult, tidal volume is approximately 500 ml per inspiration or 7 milliliter per kg of the body's mass. The major difference between the tidal volume and the vital capacity is the amount of air that you move in and out of the lung while breathing normally is called tidal volume, whereas the vital capacity is the maximum volume of air that you can inhale and exhale during the forced breathing. It varies from 3.5 to 4.5 liter. So normal means when you are sitting normally and you are taking in some air and taking out some air. So how much air you are taking in and out? Okay, that is your tidal volume. And vital volume or vital capacity is what? When you take forcefully air in your lung and then remove forcefully from your lung, then how much volume of air you have taken in or removed out is your vital capacity. Aerobic and anaerobic respiration. In animals, there is normally aerobic respiration using oxygen. Aerobic means when you do respiration using oxygen, it is aerobic. So in animal, there is normally aerobic respiration using oxygen. Anaerobic respiration is only exceptional in some cases, as in tapeworms living inside the human intestine. So the tapeworms which are or which may present in intestine of some of the human beings, they do in our anaerobic respiration. They do respiration without any oxygen. But temporary anaerobic respiration may occur even in our own body in the fast working skeletal muscles during continuous physical exercise, as in fast running, walking over long distances, swimming, wrestling, weightlifting, etc. Our muscles work too fast and they do not get enough oxygen. The fatigue experienced after such physical exercise is due to a chemical called lactic acid accumulated in the muscles due to lack of oxygen, a condition which may be called death. Oxygen death. When you rest after exercise, the lactic acid gets slowly oxidized by the oxygen which is now available, and then the debt is cleared, producing carbon dioxide in the process. So when we are doing some kind of exercise, that time what happens, our muscles, they work at a faster rate and they are not getting enough oxygen. So they produce lactic acid. In the lack of oxygen, they produce lactic acid. So this condition is called oxygen debt, and lactic acid is produced in the muscles. Now when we are relaxed, that time this lactic acid is oxidized with the help of oxygen. Now what it is getting, okay, and then it oxidized into the carbon dioxide. If you go through high mountain, you will suffer from inadequate oxygenation of the blood. This condition is called anoxia or hypoxia. So what is anoxia or hypoxia? So whenever we are going on high mountain, we suffer from inadequate oxygen. On higher places, oxygen is not present in sufficient quantity. Whenever there is deficiency of oxygen and respiration become difficult, the condition is called asphyxia. Asphyxia. So asphyxia. What is asphyxia? Asphyxia is the deficiency of oxygen and respiration becomes difficult. So that condition is called asphyxia. The benefits of exercise on the respiratory system: increase in the tidal volume and vitality. With regular exercise, the tidal volume and vital capacity is increased. So when we do regular exercise, then the amount of air what we are taking in our chest or what we are throwing away from our chest will increase. Second, respiratory muscle become strong. The respiratory muscles become stronger to work maximum and for longer durations. Third, increase in aerobic endurance. As more oxygen supplied to the blood causes less lactic acid production, fatigue is delayed and endurance improves. So, increase in aerobic endurance as more oxygen supplied to the blood. More oxygen is supplying to the blood causes less lactic acid production. Fatigue is delayed and endurance improves. Faster rate of recovery to perform a physical activity. Regular exercise will increase the breathing rate by about 3 times the normal rate. Increased amount of air taken in or out with each breath by 5 times the normal rate. Increased blood supply to and through the lungs and increased oxygen uptake. Breathing rate returns to normal in 10 to 20 minutes. Being in being in resting mode, which ultimately increases the rate of performance of the physical activity. So faster rate of recovery to perform the physical activity when we are doing exercise, that time we are breathing at a faster rate. That means we are taking more oxygen. So our blood is flowing at a faster rate, and this is helping expansion of the chest. Regular exercise results in more expansion of chest, which causes an increase in vital capacity and tidal volume. So, because of exercise, our chest cavity increases, and this again increases the vital capacity and tidal volume. Increase in the number of alveoli. There is an increase in number of alveoli, which purifies the blood. Thus, the efficiency of respiratory system is improved. So, because of exercise, the number of alveoli will also increase, and thus because of increase in number of alveoli, our respiratory system performance improves. It purifies blood, okay, more. Faster alveoli functioning. The alveoli functioning become faster, so more oxygen reaches the body for improved endurance. Faster removal of the carbon dioxide. There is a faster removal of carbon dioxide from the body. And last, maintenance of water balance. The water balance is maintained in the body through improved respiratory system. So these are all advantages or benefits of the exercise. So benefits of exercise on respiratory system. So many benefits are there, and we have seen only benefits on the respiratory system. There is benefit for whole body. So exercise is very important. Okay, everyone should do a regular exercise depending on his or her capacity. So thank you. In this lecture, we have seen how the respiration is happening in our body, how we are taking air in and how we are taking it out. Okay, so let us just see what different questions are there. First is define respiration. Give difference between aerobic and anaerobic respiration. How diffusion of respiratory gases takes place in the alveoli. What is tissues are cellular respiration. We have to define oxygen debt, second wind, vital capacity, tidal volume. And in long question answer type questions, we have how do we breathe? Explain the method of breathing with the help of diagram. So diagram we have to draw a well labeled diagram to explain the structure and function of respiratory organs. Third, differentiate between vital capacity and tidal volume and explain them. And fourth, give the benefits of exercise on the respiratory system. So all the questions are simple. Yes, again I will recommend that you again go through the chapter, okay, paragraph by paragraph, and try to answer the questions which are given here. Thank you.